And this should be scaring the bejesus out of every liberal voter that is still clinging to this party.
If you thought that Justin Trudeau and the Liberals were having a bad day before this video, well, you haven't seen anything yet. Angus Reid just released a new poll that has shattered the Liberals. We provide you our original analysis, and we are not over-exaggerating when we say that the Liberals have received their worst approval rating in modern history.
Let's take a look. Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you the latest polling figures out of Angus Reid. This is unprecedented, folks. So the Conservative approval ratings haven't really changed that much. They're still at around 45%. But if you look at the drop in the Liberals, they have plummeted 5% below Jagmeet Singh and the NDP to 16%. They weren't even at 16% when they won 34 seats under Michael Ignatieff. This is during the 2021 election. So they were at 18.9% in their approval rating. 34 seats here, folks. 34. And they are 2.9% below this. Like, we went back and took a look.
We couldn't find anything worse.
This is the lowest. This is the lowest that we could find.
This is rock bottom, and maybe they haven't even hit rock bottom yet.
And this should be scaring the bejesus out of every liberal voter that is still clinging to this party.
Historic lows, Glenn.
Because for the longest time, the Liberals were at bedrock at around 20%, 21%, and they were fluctuating, high of 24, low of 19. So that was bedrock. That was as low as they were going to go.
Until now,
they literally blasted through the bedrock all the way down to 16%.
Historic lows, Glenn.
This is crazy. Now, if this was a Leger poll or a Main Street poll, sure, I would discount it. But this is Angus Reid, and they're pretty good with their polling. So 16. This is insane.
And these are countrywide numbers. So when you look at the block, that's just over 10%. That's for the whole country, because only one province has block running in their ridings. So, I mean, they don't necessarily ask people in Alberta if they're intending to vote for the block, because they can't. But when they create those numbers, that's for the whole country.
Historic lows, Glenn.
So the Liberals, who run in every single riding in this country, are only a few approval points ahead of a party that only runs in one single province.
Historic lows, Glenn.
Well, and it just goes to show you, where did the Liberals lose all their support to? Some of it went to the NDP, and the rest of it went over to the Bloc in Quebec.
Historic lows, Glenn.
This is the crazy part. Now, we're not done yet, because there's other metrics that that these polling institutes actually look at. So let's take a look at Trudeau's personal numbers. So this is the approval rating and disapproval rating of the Prime Minister. And this is going back to December of 2015. So you can see the full historical trend here. So in December of 2015, there was Trudeau mania going on, and he had a plus 60% approval rating. Okay, fine. Well, that has completely nosedived to his worst approval rating in his political career at 22%.
But look how high that disapproval rating is.
Right. 74%.
Oh
folks.
my goodness. That disapproval rating is higher on a percentage basis than his approval rating was back in 2015.
Right. So more people hate him now than actually liked him when he was at his peak.
Right.
Just saying. So this is Trudeau's day. Like, Happy New Year, Justin Trudeau. No wonder he canceled all of his year-end interviews, because it would have been a slaughter.
Well, you saw Mercedes Stevenson go after him last year. Could you imagine what she would say this year?
Right. She'd say, why are you even on my show? Like, stay away from me. Your disapproval ratings are gonna, by proxy, rub off onto me. Get away from me. Ew. Like, that's probably what she would say. Probably not. But
we can joke.
We can dream. But this isn't the only thing that is coming at him, is these approval ratings. So we put out a video recently talking about the Conservative strategy of introducing a motion into committee that would result in a non-confidence potential vote in the House as soon as Parliament returns on January 27th. And we also put out a video about Jagmeet Singh being forced to finally put out a statement that he will support a non-confidence vote. And everyone justifiably was saying, well, I'll believe it when I see it. Well, the interesting thing is that shortly after the Conservatives put out that statement, Peter Julian, who's the deputy leader of the NDP, he put out a statement. Take a look. So this was reposted by Peter Julian, and our great friends over at the CBC actually had this in their article, but we wanted to go straight to Peter Julian's Twitter account to know that it was actually supported. So this is a post by Mr. Robert Fife. NDP House Leader Peter Julian responds to Tory plans to recall Public Accounts Committee to discuss a motion of non-confidence in the Trudeau government. Quote, this is a quote by Peter Julian. The NDP is prepared to support a committee-level non-confidence statement that describes how the Liberals let Canadians down. In the past, non-confidence motions passed at committee have not worked, so we will be ready with our own motion of non-confidence. The NDP motion will send Canadians to the polls, where they will have a choice between the Conservatives' plan to cut in order to give more to CEOs or Jagmeet Singh's plan to fix healthcare, build homes people can afford, and bring down the price of essentials. Canada's first real government for the working class. End quote. So, sounds like the NDP is actually going to be putting their money where their mouth is. But
finally,
we will see. We will see what happens in committee. And the Liberals are going to be in a real tight spot now. We thought they were going to be in a tight spot before, but 16%, folks.
Well, and no wonder all the Liberal MPs are scrambling and trying to get Justin Trudeau to resign. They have no mechanism to get rid of him as the leader. There is no deputy prime minister. You have all these cabinet ministers or former cabinet ministers in some cases who will no doubt be clamoring to get the top spot in the party. So what are they going to do? Like, the Liberal Party is in absolute chaos right now. And it sounds like not only are the Conservatives going to put forward a motion to request a non-confidence motion in committee, the NDP are going to support that. And the NDP are also going to support a future non-confidence motion because they're not certain, it sounds like from that quote anyways, that the motion from committee is actually going to work. Now, on top of that, we have our petition that is open for signature until January the 18th that is requesting that the government dissolve itself because of how badly it's failed Canadians. We'll put the link to that in the description if you haven't signed it yet, so please go ahead and do that.
And this is really important, folks, because the media is now speculating that the Liberal MPs are in such a survival mode at this point that if that petition sparks a vote in the House, they may actually vote for it. They may vote for the government to be dissolved and go to an election at this point. That's where they're at, and that's why this petition is so important right now. Now, Tanya mentioned the Liberal Party being in chaos. Well, Charlie Angus wasn't about to be outdone by the little old Liberals now. What was he?
No, he certainly wasn't.
So shortly after this was posted by Peter Julian, Charlie Angus decided to wake up on the wrong side of the bed. So Charlie Angus posts, I am a proud New Democrat, but there are moments when we must put country first. Trump's inauguration poses a serious threat. Canada deserves a plan, not political brinkmanship. I will go back to Parliament to try my best. I will not vote with Pierre Poilievre, he spells his name wrong, as it risks advancing his toxic agenda. Now, what he's saying here is he's not going to vote with the rest of the NDP.
Well, he better hope it's not a third line whip then. I mean, I suppose...
What are you going to do? Kick him out?
Well, I was going to say, I suppose it doesn't matter, especially if this vote of non-confidence is successful, because then we go to an election that Charlie Angus will not be running in.
Right. And he doesn't care at this point. Like, really, what are they going to do? Kick him out of caucus for the rest of the session? Like...
No.
So he doesn't care. He is grandstanding. He's trying to leave a quote unquote positive legacy of, oh, I'm going to resist the Conservatives to the last and all of this garbage. But this is the thing. The NDP, I hope they've finally woken up because they've seen if you support Trudeau, NDP bad.
Well, and additional to that, the same Angus Reid survey that we've taken this information from, which you can find in the description, they've listed that 2 out of every 5 Canadians are saying that they want an election in February. Not that they want an election, but that they want it in February.
Right. So that's 40% of Canadians. And yes, it's not the vast majority, but they're willing to, go out in the snow in the coldest month of the year to actually go to an election. Now, is it a coincidence that 40% of Canadians are saying that and 45% people want the Conservatives in power? Probably not. But still, that's a significant number of Canadians that are willing to do that. So,
I mean, I'm sure there's a significant amount also willing to wait until May or possibly June, but 40% want it now in February, which means it would need to be called in January.
So almost 60% of Canadians want an election. 40% of all Canadians want one immediately. And if I'm the Conservatives, NDP, and the Bloc, and you just saw this poll, holy smokes, folks, we may see not only a historic low in polling for the Liberals, we may see a historic low in seats. They may not even have party status when this is done.
Historic close, Glenn.